So glad to be here with you today. Today's episode is about an equity deal outside of Dallas in the thriving and growing town of Weatherford, Texas. Now, if you've never been to Weatherford, it's on the east side of Dallas. It's really kind of the path of progress with the way the Metroplex is growing. And I was kind of surprised when I got this deal, when I got this asset, I should say. It's not necessarily a deal, depending on how it goes. This asset is one of about 30 other ones that I got over in Florida, Texas. We've previously, in a couple episodes, talked about a Sugarland one, talked about one Lake Travis. This is the third one that was in Texas that I thought the numbers were interesting enough to take a second look and kind of walk you through what I see when I get a deal in or get a list of assets in. Do I see a lot of stuff in Texas that makes sense? Not really. Do I see a lot of stuff in Texas at a big discount? No. That's why I spend a little time on it. Texas obviously is a great state to invest in if you are a note investor, because if you can find something that makes sense, you've got the law on your side. By the law on my side, I mean I have fast foreclosure, fast evictions. As I joke about, we've got fast highways and fast executions in Texas. So it's an opportunity. If you can buy it right, it can turn into something that's going to pay you something good. And this was the case kind of with this deal. And then we're in the process of getting a little bit more information on this. But I wanted to go through some of the numbers on what I saw with this and why this equity deal might make sense. All right. And when you get a listing, the first thing we always like to do is Google it, take the address, take a look at it. And what popped up online, and if you're watching this video, you'll see it. If you're listening to this podcast, you might go ahead and watch the original video because I'll go through the numbers. But it showed a house that did match up with what the BPO that was sent over by the hedge fund, the bank, the lender that we're buying this from, the seller. It showed a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a metal roof. Homeowners got a red truck. They had an RV sitting outside, trailer, got some toys on it, decent sized piece of property. But when you asked, and that's a great thing, I asked the seller of this, and I said, hey, do you have an external BPO? Do you have any title work? What do you have? They sent over their inspection report, and the picture looked different. And I also realized when I Googled it and found something else that the property had been completely renovated just a couple of years ago. And it's a beautiful house. They got a new shingle roof on it. The driveway's been fixed. They've, painted this nice kind of olive green. They've got some planters underneath the windows. They've really done a nice job at updating this property. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So let me go through the numbers, okay? It's a first lien. You guys know we only usually buy first lien. So it's a first lien, non-performing note. The borrower has not made a payment since June of 2021. Now, that number makes me think they haven't paid in 2 years, right? Because it's June 2023 as we're coming out with this episode. But that's not necessarily the case because that's right smack dab in the middle of COVID. All right. Fair market value conservatively is $310,000. It is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home, 1,690 square feet, on I think about a third of an acre. The unpaid principal balance, okay, the unpaid principal balance of this is $220,500. The payoff is $227,000. They're only a few months behind, 5 months behind, based on what the tape told me. So this was obviously. They stopped paying in June. They took a COVID forbearance agreement, which is totally fine. Everybody's entitled to that. Shit, I paid my mortgage on time, and I think back, I should have probably not paid it for 6 months to 2 years because everybody else did, right? But anyway, their principal and interest payment is just $1,225 a month, okay? Now, one of the great things I asked when I asked the sellers where's the in the legal process? Texas is fast, okay? If they're more than 3 months behind, you can foreclose pretty much in 31 days if you file a notice, basically 21 days prior to the first Tuesday of the month. Well, they started the first legal on this, so they basically sent out the notice of intent to foreclose. Okay, now let me go back through the numbers in this again. Fair market value is 310, payoff is 227. There's some equity there that the borrowers do. Remember, you're buying the note, not the property. It's easy to fall in love with a good-looking property view, right? So the borrower technically has $83,000 in equity. Now, that's not counting if they're another month or two behind. This is, they're now technically 6 months behind as I'm recording, so they're 5 months behind, but that's beyond the point. 80-something thousand in equity. Now, The seller on this deal wants 195. That's 86% of payoff. That's only 63% of fair market value. You don't want to fall in love with that 63% because you're not entitled to that full 310, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that, or this full amount owed. You're only owed the payoff, okay? Which is technically about $32,000. 227 minus 195. That's $32,000 in gross profit. Now, the great thing in Texas, foreclosure costs aren't that expensive. You're probably going to pay somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000 for foreclosure costs. Hire an attorney taking the foreclosure. You ain't got to go through a legal process because Texas is a non-judicial state. So if you foreclose on this thing, you buy the note at 195, you file the foreclosure, you can technically foreclose probably in 60 days if you close quickly enough. Okay. Now, what's the borrower going to do? Are they going to try to stay in the house? Are they going to file bankruptcy? If they file bankruptcy, you can delay stuff out. The reason you want to keep that in mind, because a borrower could do that. Borrower could do that. Borrower could suddenly get some money and reinstate you. So this is why it's important not just to fall in love with one strategy. You got to know what's going on. This is why I'm waiting for a response back for my question on how the borrowers have responded. They have not, and the borrowers have not responded to the bank's demand letters yet. So that makes me tell me that it's probably going to go to foreclosure. Now, you're not going to take this property back. Weatherford and anything above around DFW is selling pretty fast. If you sell it, it's going to, your highest bid at the auction is going to be what you're owed, which is at 227. Okay. So if you do sell to the auction, you list it for full 227 or 228 or 229, whatever the payment is, you add an extra month or two on there. And you might make around 32,000. Okay. After your foreclosure costs. That's not bad. That's not including any money costs, your lender costs, if you're going splitsies or borrowing mezzanine financing or a private money investor, you're given a few points to it. Well, that number is going to vary by individual. Okay. So annualized, if you buy that and you do it in 90 days, it's, or if the borrower somehow goes out and pays you off, they go get a loan and pays you off, or worst case, they sell the property in 30 to 60 days and pay you off. If you made 32,000 between the 195 and the true legal balance, that's about a 16.4% annualized return. That's not too exciting if it takes you a year, right? But if you did that in 90 days, or let's just say 120 days, you multiply that 16.4% times 4, because you would technically annualize that down. If you did it 16 times 3 is what? That's a 49.2% and truly annualized return if you did that in 90 to 120 days. That's not bad. But the kicker here is if they don't pay you off, it doesn't go to foreclosure. It goes to, they file bankruptcy and it goes to a payment plan, a chapter 13, and they start making payments. The best you're going to see is probably at 11.3% ROI if they reinstate. And that's if they bring this 5 or 6 months that they're due, plus a full year of payments, because you're basically starting from now, so you start paying on time again, right? So 18 months of payments at 1225 divided by the 195 is only about 11.3% ROI. That's not including servicing costs and not including your money costs. Now, if I was going to structure this with an investor, I'd probably, since it's this amount, it's more than, it's about 195. I'd have them fund probably 200. I think taxes weren't too bad. Taxes were basically paid up to date on this, if I remember correctly. Hey, investor, if this turns into a reperforming note, if they start paying, I'm just going to walk away is what I would do. Except I don't want anything immediately, but if when the bar pays you off, because there's still that gap between the 195 what you pay for the note, or the 200, and then the 227 or the 230 they owe, I don't want to give up half of that. I'd say, listen, when they pay off, just either A, give me 15 grand to buy me out of the deal, or we'll wait around and hopefully they'll refinance out. Now I don't think they're going to refinance out of this deal because they're at a pretty low interest rate on this stuff. And with interest rates being higher, of course, if they miss some payments, I don't know if the existing lender has reported those to credit bureaus. And that's one thing to check. If the servicing company is reported to credit, because if they are, they're not going to get, the borrower's not going to get refinanced at all. Okay. If your servicer is not reported to credit bureaus, it may show no mortgage late. Maybe the borrower could go and get refinanced out. There are those solutions out there. to refinance you out, but the interest rate's probably going to be higher than what they're at currently right now. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Do I think this is a deal? Potentially, if I do a little bit more digging and get some more answers back on the notice of default and the servicing notes. If the borrower's told the lender on this, the seller on this, just go pound sand, hey, go to foreclosure, see what's going on, try to track down, see what the borrower's doing in the background and go from there. So could be an okay deal. I mean, making 15 to 30 grand in 90 days. It's never a bad thing without having to do any fix or flip or rehabs. But you're going to be foreclosing on this deal or hoping the borrower pays you off, or you take it to the foreclosure auction. Now, here's the thing. Could you, once you buy the note, since there is a little bit of equity, could you go to the borrower and offer them cash for keys? Of course you could do that. Say, hey, I'll give you 20 grand to walk. Or otherwise I'm going to foreclose, and you're going to get 220 at this. Remember, the value on this is 310. We'll give you 20 grand to walk. Then you turn around and list the property and sell it. You could do that, but most people are going to fight for that equity. And with these type of incomes, they're probably, like I said, it doesn't take much to hire an attorney to file bankruptcy to drag this stuff out. So just keep that in mind. It's really kind of a skinny deal. I think at the 86% of the payoff, it's a little high. I'd rather be at like below 190 for me to take this down and be a little bit more cushioned. But like I said, you really need to do a little bit deeper dive and take a look at what's going on and any type of servicing notes and go from there. I haven't been given that yet, and that's what I'm working towards. But not a bad looking property. This is, it's going to keep appreciating. If you want to turn it into a rental, you could. I don't know exactly what the rent rates are, but it's obviously more than what the existing mortgage and PITI payment is on this. But it is owner occupied, and that's why I think the borrower is going to fight you on this to stay in their house. And like I said, they've got only 6 months behind. It's only 6-7 months. That's $8,500 to $1,000 if they come to the table. They bring $10,000 in, they can reinstate, and then you got to reperform your note to hold on to for 12 months to get a double-digit return. So, if you like these types of deals, reach out to me. I may have some available for you. If you're wanting to learn how to do these types of deals, definitely schedule a call with me at talkwithscottcarson.com. I'd be glad to see what your goals are, what kind of money you're looking to put to work, and let's see if we can't find something out there. As always, guys, we've got coaching, we've got classes, we've got an upcoming live class that you want to definitely take an opportunity to take a look at. If you like Dallas area, you like Texas notes, that's great. Don't rely solely on Texas as your one market. Definitely, I love Texas. If I can find deals on there, great. But as a note investor, you got to really be focused on 3 to 5 states. And I don't put Texas as one of those 5 states. It's always the cherry on top. Because if I just focus on Texas assets, I'm going to be struggling. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with investors here in Texas. We're looking for Texas deals and they can't find anything. They can't find anything because they're just focused on like one part of the Lone Star State. And if you do see something great, you can probably flip it. You could probably make some money on it. I could probably, if I get this under contract at 195, which I could today, could I flip it to 200 to somebody? I can make 5, maybe 10 grand on a wholesale fee to an investor in the back end. So that wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, if they reinstate, let's just say that, let's say the 1225 times, let's just say 18 months and divide that by 205. 205,000. That's still a 10.7% cash and cash return before servicing. So not a bad day for somebody if they're using their own money and you've got that difference in the equity. You've got still 32,000 roughly, give or take a little bit on the equity side between what's owed and what you paid for the note. So potentially deal or potentially dud. You make the decision what your money costs are. If you're using other people's money, it's probably a little bit too skinny of a deal. If you're using your own money, hey, this could be a pretty decent deal, decent equity, decent LTV, and could be a decent ROI for your own funds, your IRA or retirement accounts. So for more information, check out weclosenotes.com or reach out to me directly at talkwithscottcarson.com. But thanks for listening, guys. Have a great day. Bye.